The chill in the air of Seattle always seemed to seep into my bones, but that November was different. It wasn't just the weather. It was a coldness emanating from within my own home. I'm Alistair, 46, and up until a few months ago I thought I had it all. A beautiful wife, Isolde, a comfortable life as an IT specialist for a local tech firm, and a cozy home overlooking Puget Sound. Isolde and I had been married for 15 years. We met at a coffee shop downtown. I was captivated by her infectious laughter and vibrant spirit. She was an artist, a painter, and brought color into my otherwise structured world. Or so I thought. Looking back, maybe I was just blinded by love, or perhaps I was too engrossed in my work to notice the subtle shifts in our relationship. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Isolde, always a social butterfly, began spending more evenings out with friends. Dinner plans became less frequent, replaced by hurried excuses and vague explanations. Her phone, once an open book, was now guarded with a fierce protectiveness. Passwords changed, notifications silenced, and the screen always faced down. One evening I came home early from work. A server migration had been completed ahead of schedule, and I was eager to surprise Isolde with a romantic dinner. As I unlocked the front door, I heard hushed voices coming from the living room. My heart pounded in my chest as I crept closer. "I can't keep doing this, Julian," Isolde's voice, usually so melodic, was laced with a nervous urgency. "Alistair is starting to suspect something, Julian." Who the hell was Julian? I felt a cold dread wash over me, a sickening premonition of what I was about to discover. "He's just being paranoid," a male voice, smooth and confident, replied. "Besides, what's he going to do? He's so wrapped up in his computers he wouldn't notice if the house was on fire." I couldn't breathe. My hands trembled as I pushed the door open, revealing Isolde locked in a passionate embrace with a man I'd never seen before. He was tall, handsome, with a predatory glint in his eyes. They sprang apart, their faces a mask of guilt and shock. "Alistair, it's not what you think," Isolde stammered, her face pale, really. "Because it looks exactly like what I think," I said, my voice barely a whisper. The world seemed to spin around me, the comfortable reality I had known for 15 years shattering into a million pieces. Julian stepped forward, a smirk playing on his lips. "Look, buddy, these things happen. Maybe you should try paying more attention to your wife." Rage, pure and unadulterated, coursed through my veins. I lunged at him, knocking him to the ground. Isolde screamed, trying to pull me off, but I was beyond reason. I landed a few solid punches before she finally managed to separate us. "Out!" I roared at Julian, pointing towards the door. "Get out of my house and out of my life." He scrambled to his feet, adjusting his clothes, and shot a contemptuous look at Isolde before disappearing out the door. I turned to my wife, my heart a shattered mess. "How could you do this, Isolde? How could you betray me like this?" I asked, my voice cracking with emotion. She burst into tears, sinking to the floor. "I'm so sorry, Alistair. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It just happened." I repeated, incredulous. "You didn't mean for it to go this far. You were in his arms. You were lying to me for months. How can you even say that?" The next few days were a blur of anger, tears, and recriminations. Isolde confessed to a 3-month affair with Julian, a local art critic who had been reviewing her latest exhibition. She claimed he made her feel alive again, that I had become too predictable. I couldn't believe the woman I loved, the woman I had shared my life with, could be so callous, so cruel. I tried to understand, to salvage something from the wreckage, but the trust was gone. The foundation of our marriage had crumbled, leaving behind only resentment and pain. I couldn't forgive her, and I couldn't forget what she had done. "I want a divorce," I said, the words heavy and final. Isolde didn't argue. She knew she had destroyed everything. The divorce was swift and brutal. The house, the savings, everything was divided. I moved into a small apartment downtown, feeling lost and adrift. I threw myself into my work, burying my emotions in lines of code and complex algorithms. But the pain was always there, a dull ache in my chest. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, and I couldn't shake the image of Isolde in Julian's arms. One evening, a few months after the divorce, I received an anonymous email. The subject line read, "You deserve to know the truth." Intrigued, I opened the email. It contained a series of photographs and documents that painted a far more sinister picture of Isolde and Julian's affair. It turned out Julian wasn't just an art critic. He was a con artist, a master manipulator who preyed on vulnerable women. He had targeted Isolde, not out of genuine affection, but for her money and connections. He had been systematically draining her accounts, convincing her to invest in bogus art schemes, and isolating her from her friends and family. The email also revealed that Isolde wasn't his first victim. He had a long history of seducing wealthy women, swindling them out of their fortunes, and then disappearing without a trace. I was stunned. Isolde had not only betrayed me, but she had also been played, used, and manipulated by a heartless predator. A wave of conflicting emotions washed over me: anger, pity, and a strange sense of vindication. I knew I couldn't let Julian get away with this. I contacted the authorities, providing them with all the evidence I had received. They launched an investigation, and within a few weeks, Julian was arrested and charged with multiple counts of fraud and embezzlement. Isolde was devastated. She had lost everything: her husband, her reputation, and her savings. She reached out to me, begging for forgiveness, claiming she had been blinded by love and manipulated by Julian. "I know I hurt you, Alistair," she sobbed over the phone. "But I never meant for any of this to happen. I was so stupid, so naive. Can you ever forgive me?" I hesitated. Part of me wanted to lash out to make her suffer as I had suffered. But another part of me, the part that still loved her, felt a flicker of compassion. "I don't know, Isolde," I said, my voice weary. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you completely, but I do know that I don't want to see you destroyed. You need to face the consequences of your actions, but you also need to rebuild your life." I couldn't bring myself to hate her. She had made terrible mistakes, but she was also a victim, albeit a willing one. I offered her my support, not as a husband, but as a friend. I helped her find a lawyer, connect with a therapist, and start piecing her life back together. Julian was eventually convicted and sentenced to a lengthy prison term. Isolde testified against him, providing crucial evidence that helped secure his conviction. It was a small measure of justice, but it didn't erase the pain or undo the damage that had been done. In the years that followed, Isolde and I remained in contact. We never rekindled our romance, but we forged a new kind of relationship, one based on honesty, respect, and a shared understanding of the past. She worked hard to rebuild her life, focusing on her art and dedicating herself to helping other women who had been victims of fraud and manipulation. I eventually found love again with a woman named Bront, a kind and compassionate soul who understood my past and accepted me for who I was. We built a life together, filled with love, trust, and mutual respect. Looking back, I realized that Isolde's betrayal, while devastating, ultimately led me to a better place. It forced me to confront my own vulnerabilities, to redefine my priorities, and to appreciate the true meaning of love and commitment. It was a painful journey, but it was also a transformative one. I learned that forgiveness is not about condoning the actions of others, but about freeing yourself from the burden of anger and resentment. And I learned that even in the darkest of times, hope can emerge, and new beginnings are always possible. The experience changed me, hardened me, but also made me more empathetic. I understood the fragility of trust, the devastating impact of betrayal, and the importance of cherishing the bonds of love and loyalty. It was a harsh lesson, but one that I will never forget. The rain is falling outside my window as I write this, the sound a soothing balm to my soul. Seattle is still my home, but it's a different home now, filled with a different kind of love, a love that is stronger, deeper, and more resilient than anything I have ever known. And for that, I am grateful, even for the pain of the past.